In 90 days, I gained over 70 million views on Twitter. And in this video, I'm going to explain 5 of the best strategies that I used, so that you can also use them to grow extremely fast on Twitter. The first strategy is the milestone post. This one is a little bit weird, but it works extremely well, so let me explain it. You basically share a milestone of something that you recently achieved that's relevant to your ideal reader. So in the case of this tweet, it's followers. But it could also be income or weight loss or getting married or anything else. You basically share an important milestone that you achieved, and it must be something that your ideal reader also wants to achieve. If you have something like that, then you simply use this template. I hit or I achieved this thing today, then daily this, daily this, daily this, and then you give a short takeaway. So in my case, it's usually keep it simple because simplicity is a big part of my brand. But this template works extremely well. So I highly recommend that you just emulate this part because I've tested over 20 different templates for this. And every time I tested something different than this, it did worse. So just take this one. As you can see, it also did really well for my clients. And the cool part about this post is that it seems to do better if you're a small creator. This is probably the only type of post for which that is the case. So definitely use it. That brings us to the second strategy. And this is about comments and replies. Most people think that growth on Twitter looks like this. People are strangers, then they see your tweets, and because they're impressed by your tweets, they click on your profile, and then they click on the follow button. And this can be the case, but usually at the start it doesn't quite work like this. Because in order for people to see your tweets, you need to have tweet impressions. And to have tweet impressions, you need to have at least a little bit of followers. But at the start, you won't have this. So you need to basically force eyes on your content. And you do this by leaving quality comments. Because if you leave quality comments, then people also click on your profile and they may also become followers. So here's basically the process that you want to follow for that. You want to create a list of 100 creators in your niche. Ideally 10% big creators and 90% creators around your size or a little bit bigger. You follow these people, then you add them to a list. Then you can DM some of them as well. So you can say that you like something about their content or the brands that they're building or something about their profile or basically anything else that stands out. Because the idea is that you add people to this list that you actually like so that you can genuinely give them a compliment about something that you like. And so that you can actually maybe make some meaningful connections. So yeah, giving the compliment is about showing interest in them. And after that, I recommend trying to give value. Don't ask them about their problems or something similar to that, but just if you notice that they're having a problem or that they could do something better, or that you recently learned something valuable that they could also benefit from, then you can share it with them. This kind of helps to build a connection, and this makes it more likely that they'll also add you to their list and start commenting on your stuff. So this is kind of how you get the ball rolling at the start. Also make sure that you reply to the comments that you're getting to give people more of an incentive to keep leaving comments on your posts. That brings us to the third strategy, and this is one of my favorites, and it's called social hacking. Social hacking is basically borrowing the authority of someone else, ideally someone who's popular in your niche, by writing about their best ideas. So in my case, I write about self-improvement, online business and digital writing. And in this niche, Naval and Andrew Huberman are very popular. So I wrote a thread about their best ideas. And as you can see, it did pretty well. It has over 1 million views and it got me over 1,000 followers overnight. You want to start these types of posts with a strong hook. So in my case, Naval and Andrew Huberman changed my life. Life-changing sounds a little bit cringe, but it's something that does well on social media. That's why you see it so often. So it may feel a little bit weird to say, but it works. So yeah, I can recommend using it. Then you give an estimate of the perceived value that they will get in this thread. So in this case, I watched hundreds of their videos. So this implies that it contains a lot of valuable information and that you save a lot of time by reading this, because you don't need to watch those hundreds of videos to get these lessons. And then I explain the clear benefits that people get if they read this thread. So in this case, the 20 best lessons that I learned from them. The cool thing about this is that people will read this if they're interested in Naval or Andrew Huberman. They don't need to care about me in order to care about a post about 2 of the people that they admire. So this is why it's really great to use this stuff at the start, because you kind of borrow the authority from someone else, and people can also start to associate you with the ideas of people that you write about. So that brings us to the next strategy, and this is using giveaways. This right here is a giveaway. A giveaway is basically a post in which you give away a small product that solves a problem that your ideal reader has. As you can see, this one did really well. It got me over 700 followers and email subs. So you can use giveaways to grow. And if you also have your funnel set up properly, then you can also use it to make a lot of money. The way to make them work is to have these 4 things in it. You need to have a desirable outcome. So in my case, I explained that in 90 days, I gained 4,000 followers, 1,400 email subs, and over 3 million impressions. Then you talk about the relevance to your ideal reader. So in my case, I made a course on writing. So people who want to learn how to grow their audience and grow their business via social media will be interested in this. Then I say free for 48 hours. So this gives people a reason to act now, because if I don't have a time limit set on it, then a lot of people might not act on it. But if I make it clear that it's gone in 2 days, then people need to make a decision if they want it or if they don't want it. And this will increase the amount of people who reply to it. Then you need to give clear instructions on how they can get it. So you need to say like the post and follow me and then comment this word. The reason that I need to follow you is because you can't use the auto DMs otherwise. So you need to make sure that you include these 3 things. And the word here doesn't really matter. It's the word that you choose to activate the auto DM. And you can set up this auto DM campaign with Tweet Hunter or Hypefury. And then you can include an ask for help. So in this case, I would just copy this sentence if I were you, because when I started using this, I got a lot more reposts on it, even though I didn't make it a requirement to repost it. But this works because it reminds people that it would be appreciated if they help you, and you're already giving them something, so some of them want to give back. Alright, that brings us to the next strategy, and this is a concept that I came up with, and it's called aesthetic writing. Aesthetic writing is to tweets what video editing is to videos. So it's about optimizing the writing in the tweet so that it becomes easier and more enjoyable to consume. It's best to illustrate this with some examples. So the first one is stairways. As you can see, here the tweet is structured like a stairway. It starts with the shortest thing and then it ends with the longest. And this creates a nice stairway effect. And this makes it subconsciously more satisfying to read it than, for example, here, where you have long, short, etc, etc. This makes it visually more appealing and it grabs more attention. And it also has low effort at the start and then it becomes increasingly more effort. But the good thing about this is that people already invested effort into it, so they're more likely to keep reading. The next one is repetition. So on social media, things like this do really well. You have lots of here, lots of, and here you have 5 different ways of saying a lot of. And on school you probably learn that this isn't good to do, but on social media it's different. Because if people see this, they notice the pattern and then they stop reading this and they can just skim this. And what this does is that it reduces the perceived effort to read it. And this saves people energy and makes them more likely to read the entire tweet. So you use more words, but it doesn't take them more effort to read it. And that's why this is really useful, because if people need to read this, then it takes effort to read this every single time, because it feels like a new sentence. But here it feels like the same sentence and you just need to look at a word here. So that's why repetition can be really powerful. Next up is bullet points. Bullet points are crucial on social media. So as you can see, this looks a lot more digestible than this. When you see this with all of the commas, it's usually something that you don't really want to read. But when you read this, then you kind of skim over this and then you skim over the last sentence. So it just makes it more visually appealing and easier to read. The next one is white space. White space is also very important. It makes it much more easy to read, and it kind of gives people a short break after every sentence. And this can make it easier and more enjoyable for them to read it, as opposed to something like this, where it's kind of overwhelming with all of the interpunctuation and yeah, it just isn't a good look. And the next one is varying your sentence length. So you can pause the video here if you want to read it. But the idea here is basically that in this paragraph, every sentence uses 5 words, and after a while that starts to become monotonous. And when it becomes monotonous, people basically stop paying attention and they stop reading your content. So you need to vary your sentence length, which means that you can use short sentences, then long ones, short, long, really long, etc, etc. You keep people engaged if they don't know what's going to happen next. So that's why you vary the sentence lengths. If you want more strategies like this to grow and monetize your business on Twitter, check out this ebook in the description right now. It's completely free. Or you can check out the X Growth system if you want all of my best systems and strategies. So these are the strategies to grow your audience, but growing your audience doesn't mean that you can monetize it, because you also need some different strategies for that. So check out this video next. It explains the best monetization strategies that I used, so that you can copy them to also make 6 figures on Twitter this year.